format of my channel. I have David Beecroft with me today. I'm very happy that he's here. He's a famous and very cool saxophone player. And we have also been playing a little bit up front, as you heard. And this series is so brand new that I just realized I don't even have a name for it. So if anyone of you want to write down a name for this Berlin jazz meetup, coffee of course, thing, just write it down in the comments. And today I just want to ask David some questions that I think are interesting to all of us. Most of us making music or learning an instrument, or we are musicians, and there's always so much stuff to talk about. So we're going to really take the time today to talk to each other. And the first thing that I want to say is maybe we'll start and you talk about how you started playing the saxophone, and even if there were any other instruments, so like your musical upbringing, how it all started.
Oh, sure. Well, my dad was a musician, and then, of course, he was raising a family, so he was then a part-time musician and played saxophone and clarinet and had a lovely sound. You know, he had a beautiful, well, he loved swing music, and so at home there was always Count Basie and, you know, great music playing, and so I sort of grew up with that. My brother's a trombone player, still is, and he plays in Toronto. He has a band that's inspired by Berlin, called the Winter Garden Orchestra, and it plays all the music from the 20s and 30s and you know, crazy, you know, German stuff, and and he's got a following in Toronto, and yeah, and but you know, we both started off. I played my dad's tenor when I was just starting, and
so you stole it from sort of.
Basically, yeah, and then he switched to baritone saxophone, and
Because he had to.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. No, I think the tenor's pretty demanding, you know. So, but yeah, so at a very young age, we started doing things like, you know, playing some music together in the house, and at Christmas time, we're, you know, playing Christmas things, and I was just learning how to read, and it introduced a lot of tension in me.
How come?
Well, because I didn't know anything, and I'd never had lessons.
Oh, so you learned by all
just
of
by
you?
doing, yeah. And my dad gave me one lesson, which was how to put a clarinet together.
Oh, but the embouchure and all the things?
No, he didn't know. He was autodidact, and
Okay.
yeah, and so I kind of learned just by watching and doing, and of course I learned a lot of, I think, bad habits at the beginning, because I knew how the saxophone should sound.
You got a tone out of it, for sure.
What's that?
So you could make a sound on the saxophone?
Oh yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah, because I just say that because I couldn't, so that's why.
That's all, yeah. Yeah, from the beginning. It's just, I guess I just knew how it should sound, because I'd heard so much.
Yeah.
And so I, you know, then when we were a little older, like 15 or 16, we would go to jam sessions with my dad.
In Toronto?
In Toronto, yeah. There's a place called the Press Club, which is, I don't know if it still exists, and all the old guys in the city, and, you know, would come out and you know, just play tunes, and we'd come up on the easier things.
And you could play there, yeah.
Yeah, and somehow, you know, just use your ears. I didn't know anything, and knew nothing about harmony, you know, and that, you know, basically you're kind of thrown into the water in the deep end.
Yes.
And but it was great fun, you know, and the you know, the cats we were playing with were very, very supportive.
Was it like a real band with drums and bass
Yeah,
players?
yeah.
So like a real session?
Yeah, on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh,
yeah. And then, you know, of course in the school there was music, and I very quickly, you know, I did very well with that.
Did you like going to school?
Well, yes and no, you know. The thing is well, with music, there was never a problem. That was always easy. And you know, in high school, of course, we had a big band that we played in, and you know, that worked really well. We won a big award in Canada. It was a Canadian-wide competition. I've forgotten what it's called now. Yeah. But Chuck Mangione was adjudicating, and so you know, our band won in 1974.
Oh, that's what I was 1 year old.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, and you know, so I won one of the, you know, outstanding player things, and so we then played in a big band made up of all the best players from across Canada, and then after that, high school was over.
I want to interject. I know that in America, people always have a big band. It seems like they always or used to have big band programs, right? Yeah. In Canada, is that typical for a school, or were you lucky?
It used to be. I don't think it's that way anymore. Yeah, all the high schools had some kind of a jazz program, and also an orchestra, and they had pretty extensive music programs. And what with you know, things changing, demographics changing, you know, the music changed as well. And so the jazz music has kind of faded. Yeah, I don't know what it's like now. I haven't been back in a long time. So, and yeah, and then, you know, at 18, I found myself out alone. And, you know, my parents broke up and sold the house. And
you were still living in Toronto at the time?
Yeah, in Toronto, yeah. And then, so I just started to play, you know, doing jobbing gigs, you know, like weddings and bar mitzvahs.
So you started making a living as a musician?
Yeah, if you could call it that, yeah.
Was that a conscious decision, or you just like...
Well, I had sort of no choice. And I was just, you know, I had to find a place to live. And you know, I was pretty naive back then.
Like we all were when we started out of this.
Exactly.
But I mean, you could have, to study would have cost a lot of money, and so that study something else, or?
Yeah, after a year, what I did was I went to Humber College, which was had a jazz program, which was fabulous, and met a lot of, you know, the top players now in Toronto. We went to school together, and you know, that was really important because you get connected with, you know, the good players, and so that, you know, because it's a social thing as well, you know.
Absolutely,
yeah. And you know, I don't know how much I learned. I learned that I didn't know how to play, and that I didn't read very well, but also saw the good things I could do, you know. And I went there for 1 year, and then it was suggested that I might not come back because I didn't take the English courses.
Which kind of English courses?
Well, it was mandatory, it probably still is, that in I guess it's a college, so, you know, to be a college, they have to teach some real courses.
Oh, so that it's something real, sort of.
Yeah, and so I had to, you know, and the English course, that was at 9 in the morning, and I was living 2 hours away.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah.
And so, and you know, I slept through them anyway. And,
but what was it, like English grammar, or?
I guess.
I mean, you're a native speaker?
Yeah, but it was just whatever. You know, I don't even remember what the courses were about because I never went to them. I just dropped that, and then, you know, 19 years old, 20 years old, somewhere in there, you know, playing with my brother. We had a band that played dance music, you know, funk music and whatever was happening back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so we did, you know, at the time, hotels and things like that, where you'd work for, you know, weeks on end every night.
So you had a gig where you would play every evening?
Yeah.
Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like this, right? So not book a single gig, but like have a whole week or
you'd
something
have
like this.
weeks or sometimes a month somewhere, or and then you do something called the Northern Tour, which is way north in Ontario. There's towns up there, and you'd play in some pretty wild places.
And then you just travel around.
Yeah, and do 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, and and then sometimes, I mean, it was fun because there was a horn section, so 3 horns, and so that was really good, and I got to play with some very good musicians.
Cool.
Yeah, there was a guy, Bob Carey, who probably nobody knows, but he played in. It was which orchestra was it? Let me think. One of the swing orchestras. Oh God, it'll come to me.
Yeah,
But
and
he's an American guy,
yeah.
and so he had a lot of tradition with him, and that was really, really great. And then I started to get this feeling I wanted to see Europe.
Oh, really? How and where did that come from?
I don't know. I had to get away somehow.
You wanted to get out to another place.
Yeah. And I thought there's more in the world than Toronto.
Yeah, but possibly, yes.
Yeah, and so I ended up going to Amsterdam for a couple of years.
Ah, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and played with some lovely musicians there. There was a guy, Wilbur Little, a bass player, who's, and then I played a little tiny bit with John Clayton, and of course, the musicians there, and
Very good musicians,
yeah. And then there was a fellow, Audrey Brat, a bass player, and who now leads the Dutch College Swing Band, or Dutch Swing College Band, or something. And we played a lot together, and he was very young at the time as well. And
did you live in the city of Amsterdam, or did you live?
I lived in the city.
Where did you live? Do you remember?
Oh, Van der Heistplatz.
Say it again.
Van der Heistplatz.
Oh, is it?
It's probably just a little, like south, just outside of the rings.
Ah, so it's a little bit outside.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that was a great experience. I felt at home there.
Yeah.
And it ended up going back to Toronto after a couple of years.
Okay. But how did you transition to another city? Did you have some savings, or how did that work?
Not very much.
Because you needed to work immediately then, and people maybe didn't know you? Or?
I had a little bit. I'm not sure how I managed it. I think I was doing some construction work.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Banging down walls and...
Ah, so on the side.
Yeah. And I saved a little with that, and then ended up somehow just surviving, like we all do. And
Still surviving.
yeah. Yeah, and so that gave me my taste of Europe, and which didn't go away. Even in Toronto for years, I raised a lovely family. I was married there.
I didn't know.
Well, she had 2 children, very young, and so that was my life. And then doing more jobbing gigs and whatever I could do to somehow get by.
So you had a family as a working musician.
Yeah, and they're lovely. They're adults now.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And but then the bug, it didn't go away, and I felt, as the Germans say, Sehnsucht. Yeah, and then it turned out there was a friend of mine who, when I came back from Amsterdam, I had inspired him, and he moved to Berlin.
There comes
Berlin.
Berlin.
Mike Siegel, and and we would sometimes meet in the summer when he would come and visit, and at sessions, house sessions, and he said, I have a flat, and that I'm not using in Neukölln, and it was 167 marks a month.
When was that? In the 80s then, or?
I came in 94.
94.
Yeah, and so then I had again a little bit of savings. I sold a piano that I had, and started off again and just went to every session I could.
And how was the scene in the? Please talk a little bit about Berlin in the time. That would be
At
great.
94, well, okay, the wall had already come down.
That's true, yeah.
And but it was nuts because everybody was trying to do something, and there was no regulation at the time. And you know, because Berlin had been unified, and there were a lot of very cheap places to live for artists.
That's so great. Yeah, yeah.
And clubs all over the place, little places that would just try to do something. And then I ended up playing in a 13-piece ensemble. It was from East Berlin originally, Philharmonie. There was a guy, Frank Raschke, piano player, who was leading that. They'd been together for many years, before the wall, and were kind of an institution.
Okay.
And
but it's not a big band.
well, 13 pieces. There was a couple of saxophones, French horn, a tuba, and a rhythm section, and they did this combination of classical music and jazz, I guess, to get under the radar. And
That's why I'm wondering, yeah.
yeah, and I ended up playing with them, and I think they hired me because they, now forgive me, they didn't perhaps want a West German musician.
Oh, and you were
And I was
definitely
Canadian, and so somehow there was no difficulty there. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's just you played so well.
Oh, well.
That could be possible as well.
Well, it might be something. But anyway, so, and then it sort of went from there, and through that, I could get my papers and stuff and live here legally. Yeah.
If you wouldn't have gotten that job, would you have to leave, or?
Oh, in all likelihood, I didn't think about it too much. I was sort of under the radar, and then but in Germany you have to do things properly, and it was possible at the time to get to come in as an artist, and which I managed to do, and been struggling and playing ever since here.
Yeah, Wahnsinn. So interesting. And so then, from that's something else that I wanted to ask. How can you talk about how you see how Berlin has changed? Because I find that also fascinating, and just not only clubs, but whatever comes to your mind. I mean.
Well, there's been a lot of gentrification. Yeah. And that's, I guess, inevitable. Yeah. Berlin was kind of this strange little island.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it attracted a lot of artists, and still does. Let's see. Well, like I say, there's been a lot of gentrification. At the time, I had lived in Prenzlauer Berg, in Mitte, in Neukölln, and
also all the Kieze.
Yeah. And Prenzlauer Berg, for instance, has changed a lot. And now you can't make a noise, because somebody complains. But whatever, it's. I've seen that in Toronto as well. Everything is always changing.
What I find, so I have been living a long time in Hamburg and making music there, and the city feels like is smaller, and the musicians know each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like this still, but it feels like there's also hierarchy, and then if you can be like number one for the guitar players and get a lot of phone calls.
Right.
And then you also know that when you play gigs, then that people will remember you possibly. And here in Berlin, I feel like, because it's so huge also, from the geographical side, that there are many different centers. So I would like you to expand on that.
Well, yeah, definitely. And especially if you're coming to Berlin, you go to whatever session, so you're kind of on the bottom, and I think it's very difficult for musicians to break in because there's so many different scenes, and
also so many people coming and going.
That's also true. Yeah, some people, they come, for a couple of years, and then they can't find a place for themselves, and because Berlin, it's not easy.
Yeah.
You know, I think any city is not easy.
I think it's so decentral. I don't know in English. No, it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
have
Well,
a
there's
center,
different
right?
centers. You know.
Yeah, and so it's also if you want to meet someone, so you can choose your kids or your spot where you go, but there's not like this idea. I mean, there was this idea of the jazz house, you know, from Tilbrunner. I don't actually know what's happening to that anymore, but I think that was supposed to be like
A central idea.
where
Yeah.
where you can meet up and
Yeah, well, people have been trying to do that to, you know, make a larger community. I think they were and still are trying to do that with the Silent Jazz Bar here, and which is another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of different scenes here. I mean, there's a theater scene, there's orchestras, there's oh, you know, there's jazz things going on. There's
and some more the free jazz scene is also very vivid, I would say. Like
yeah,
people
I
play
don't
more
know
free.
that much about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like a little more structure.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, but they've got fabulous,
Yeah.
you know, fabulous musicians in that scene, and it's
Yeah.
it's very real and very serious. You know, it's
Yeah, because I feel sometimes like you come from the background of Toronto and real jazz, whatever that's supposed to mean, right? Yeah. But like Germany is not the
yeah. There is
root of jazz.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's. Of course, it was a little bit disturbed, the whole progression of things.
Of course, yes.
But yeah, Toronto, just to speak about that,
Yeah.
it had and still does have a very, you know, like, how to say it, you have to know how to play like commercial music.
Yeah, yeah.
And there is a jazz scene, but everybody, you know, can play at a very high level, and because they somehow have to make a living, and so, you know, in Toronto there was a really big studio scene in the 70s and 60s, 70s. It died out in the 80s, but because there was a lot of film music being done in Toronto because it was cheaper than Los Angeles,
I get it.
and so they had the Boss Brass there, with just the best musicians in the world, just like other cities, you know. But it had a really strong tradition of you know, doubling, of being able to play, you know, tunes, being able to go in and do a wedding, and you know, and then go in the studio the next day and play some coffee commercials or something. You know, and so you had to be able to read, you had to play in tune, play in a section.
Yeah, yeah. Certain skill sets.
Yeah, so there was a strong tradition there of, you know, what it meant to be a professional musician.
Yeah.
And here it's a little more open, you
Yes.
know, and also there's a bigger sort of orchestra thing, you know, with these players. But I think it's more separate, you know, like if you're sort of that kind of player, of course you can read anything, and you know, you can play in a section anytime, but you can't improvise, you know, because that's never called for. And so there's, I think, a bigger gulf between improvising musicians and, you know, sort of classical, if you will, musicians. And yeah, perhaps what was interesting, you know, with this first band that I played in was that, yeah, I can read and play in a section and understand what's going on and blend with other musicians, and also be able to, you know, play, you know, like improvise on things. And for me, you know, I love to improvise, and as much as play the melody, you know, and so that was maybe what made me interesting, you know. Yeah, because I think that that's still a gulf, you know. But
for sure.
but there are, you know, keeping in mind there are still in Berlin fabulous players, you know, on all instruments.
I feel like, so I personally also really like more mainstream jazz or whatever it means, but like, you know, where you have a melody and where you have sort of a form, and it can be maybe a little freer in the interpretation, but I also like to have a structure. To be very honest, that's just how I always have been. And I feel like sometimes this, if you want to call it mainstream jazz, is not so strong in Berlin. Sometimes I feel like there are people who can play that and are very good, but they don't have really a place. Maybe I don't know if that's true, but I feel like I don't know. Yeah.
Well, how I see it is, I play in a big band called the Fine Arts Big Band, and we do some really amazing programs with that band, and everybody can solo in the band. And of course, as we say, read fly shit. And but the one thing I notice is that, with these players, whom I think are fabulous, they don't know a lot of tunes. And so I was on a job just recently where they'd asked, a rhythm section and myself, it was a big band gig, to play just a set of, what do they call it, Löffel music? Spoon music. Or I'm not sure if that's the right term, but just play some tunes for people, where they're mingling and talking, and none of the horn players knew any tunes. You couldn't call anything.
Just play all the things you are, whatever.
Simple, tunes. It was. I was kind of surprised, and the rhythm section, some guys are reading, those tunes, and I thought, that's the difference in a way, because that is just normal in Toronto, that a lot of tunes.
And also I never been to the USA and also not to Canada, but that they come more often in the radio, or that you grew up with them anyways, right? But you hear them when you are somewhere, or?
Well, they, the big bands would have concerts, and the musicians that played, there were small clubs where they would play as well, as a quartet or whatever, and you could actually sit in. There was a saxophone player. I think of his name. Gene Amaro was his name. A fabulous tenor player who played, he was the soloist in this Boss Brass. And he was really open. He said, come on out to George's Spaghetti House and, bring your horn. And we'll play a couple of tunes. And so he would, they were supportive of young players. And then, you'd play with a fabulous rhythm section, and to be absolutely scared shitless.
For sure.
Because it's they also, they would play their tunes at their tempos, so it was scary too, and anyway, so that's a little bit of my past, I guess, and
what I wanted to ask you also, to change the topic a little bit, is about practicing in general and specifically, but maybe because I know many people who are watching here are really interested in structuring their practice, maybe having a practice plan, or maybe feeling stuck. So maybe how you approach the topic.
Okay, I would say the most important thing is your sound, and
that's something guitar players don't think so much about. It's not true, but sometimes I feel like this.
Especially as a horn player, because everybody can play the notes, and so there's having a personal sound, also being consistent, so that you can kind of relax when you're working, because that this thing works.
Consistent sound, being consistent with the sound, or
be consistent with your sound, so it always feels good to play.
More feels good or sounds good, or both?
Well, they're kind of connected. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be another player, but I know that in my past I've been tortured a lot with being consistent. I had my first experience with that. I was playing in the BIM house with this, I guess it was a quintet, and the bass player at the time was Wilbur Little, and there was a trumpet player who played with Count Basie.
Oh, wow.
Now I can't think of his name offhand. And he was one of the soloists, and they were friends, and he came up to play a set with us. And, you know, we just played some tunes, and I just remember he buried me with energy, and I couldn't keep up. Couldn't you know, stay at that level.
But it was not that he was so loud, right?
No, it was a physical thing. It's like
the
the
presence, or
yeah, the of just being so alive musically, and playing with energy, and you know, lifting the energy of the group. And I remember being exhausted, and I thought, God, I can hardly play now. You know, my chops are gone, and because of you know, these guys back in that day, they played all the time.
yeah, so they had like a lot of muscle, possibly.
They knew how to play,
Yeah.
and people don't, I think, realize that it has to be effortless, you know, to play. It has to be that you can play all day.
Yeah, that it's natural, sort of.
Yeah, that you're not fighting the instrument, you know, and pushing against the horn. And now maybe it's the same, probably the same with all instruments. If you have tension when you play, you're going to hurt yourself. You know, it has to be easy to play, and effortless, and so it's sort of been a life's journey to learn that, and because that's it really stuck with me, you know, and I'm not really good as a student.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I've had a few, you know, saxophone teachers, and I can't really stick with a teacher because, you know, I've got, as I see it, my problems, and they don't seem to see
Your problems.
my problems that I really need to solve, and I've always been the kind of person that's had to figure it out himself.
So you're like an autodidact.
Yeah, pretty much, you know, but also very open to, you know, what people are doing. It's not that I'm living, you know, too much in my own space. I'm very interested, let's say, to look at these days at videos of the greatest players.
What kind of videos do you
Well,
like?
I mean, there's all kinds of material now of you know, I'm not so good with names when I'm under pressure here, but
We can all just have them everywhere. That's, you know, we can put them in later, don't
yeah,
we?
well, I mean, like all the guys, like, you know, Wayne Shorter, Michael Brecker, and so on and so on. And, you know, like Sonny Stitt, and you look at these, you know, this old footage.
But you watch the videos
Yeah.
rather than listen to the records, or
Oh, and that too. Well, first of all, listening to records,
Yeah.
because that's how I started to learn. I had a few Dexter Gordon records and things like that.
But do you see also from the visual, does it help you
Well,
with
what you see is that they're very relaxed. You know, the embouchure is relaxed, and they just play through the instrument, and it's just music. And that's, you know, something that I was very interested to figure out. And I see it in a lot of musicians today who, let's say, don't have to play every day, or you know.
so because they don't have to reserve the energies?
Yeah, I guess, and I like I kind of physically feel the tightness.
Of course, we can feel that. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, it's like, okay, it's good enough. You know, but there's another level of, you know, of these players that the air just goes through the instrument without any impediment.
So when you practice,
Yeah.
do you have like a routine when you
Yeah, I
get
have-
up in the morning, or how does it work for you?
Well, now I get up in the morning and I do some business first, because if that doesn't work, then I'm screwed. But for, let's say, the last 2 years, I was, you know, getting up first thing in the morning and pick up the horn, and just breathe air through the instrument and feel what it's like to be relaxed and have the instrument here and have air flowing.
So just like tone exercises, maybe.
Yeah, well, even starts before you make a tone.
So just to sit nicely.
Yeah, it's like, let's say you've played the night before, and and your face might be a little tight or something. I mean, the horn's different every day.
Yeah, I can't relate so much to it, but yeah, go ahead.
But it's like, and just be relaxed and let air flow, because, like playing an instrument, it's very, very habit forming.
Absolutely.
And so often we're not even aware of what we're doing before we play.
Yeah.
And so the idea is, first of all, feel your butt on the chair and the edges, like we talked about, and let the horn come to me, instead of me wanting to force the horn to sound a certain way. And it's awful at first, but it's like, and just blow air. Yeah.
This recording.
Yeah. Yeah. And just blow air and let the sound come when it's ready. And realize that I don't have to do anything to get a lot of sound.
I get it.
It's just, it's only about the pressure from underneath the reed, closing it a little tiny bit, and then the rest just comes. And then saxophone is not about pushing to get a sound. It's about, there's a sound, and then you make it nicer. And the sound will happen if you get out of the way, I don't know on guitar, whether there's things you can do that cramp the sound, but
Too much tension as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's the same, with saxophone, I guess with trumpets and.
But then are you also thinking a lot about breathing? Possibly, right? Just like in
breathing,
general, I mean.
Yeah, breathing is that's an interesting subject, because all you need to do is breathe out.
Into the saxophone, yeah.
And then air comes in.
Yeah.
Now the diaphragm is such that it's a muscle for breathing in, not breathing out. Okay, there's a big misconception there. And so you breathe in, and you start with your ribs and your body. You have to feel yourself expand. And then down here, it starts with expansion.
You can really breathe in your stomach possibly very well, right?
Yeah, well, that's part of it, but it's not all of it. The actual, it's like your whole body, the ribs and everything. It's like a spring, and breathing in is where this muscle is, and all the other muscles are automatically opening your rib cage, and you can't consciously, say I'm going to open my rib cage. You just breathe in, and then everything is here. So you've got then at the top of your breath, actually a lot of tension, of expansion, and then you just relax, and then there's a sound. I'm not pushing, I'm not breathing out. It's happening because there's this sort of loaded tension from.
You're relaxing into it.
So you relax into the sound, and then you can carry it a little further.
And how long would you practice that around?
Oh.
Do you work with a timer?
No.
Just like how it feels?
Yeah, I don't need to do that very much. I just need to get in touch with it now. And then I say, okay, now I can play without pushing.
So you're sort of getting a good starting point, setting the right starting point for your practices, right? So that you don't tense up in the beginning.
Yeah, so and I'm not wanting the sound to be a certain way. I think that's really important, is that, we have such a strong desire to sound a certain way. And but first you have to just sound, and then you can shape the sound.
And what would you do next after this?
Well, yeah, let's see. Well, I'm always going between sort of broad, non-specific things to practice, like whether it's technical playing, different kind of ways through scales.
Like scale patterns or stuff like
Yeah,
this?
little
Or
things like that.
Yeah.
Which are, apply to everything, and then work on a specific thing, whether it's something I have to play.
Like a tune?
Yeah, a tune, or let's say I've got with the FAB band, we had a recording just a little while ago, and the music is very difficult. And so I get very specific about playing slowly through the really hard parts that I don't do so well. and going, slow. So that's specific. And then there's maybe non-specific things, like I said.
So you make a division between specific and non-specific things. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so, but really important is that everything I play, I try to sing it.
Oh yeah, you just, when we started playing here, David sang all the...
Yeah, and not well.
Do you have perfect pitch? No.
No.
But you hear the intervals really well, I find.
Yeah, I'm trying. Well, one of the things, I was very shy to sing, for most of my life. And I still am, but I realized that if you sing, you can't hold back. You need to actually sing through your mistakes so that you can actually really hear them.
How do you practice it? So you sing a melody, or how do you go about it?
Well, it could be a melody, could be singing through the changes, and singing something really simple.
Like the root, or?
First of all, let's say, let me think of a tune. I don't know if it's an easy tune, but like. And so on saxophone, C major, going to an E7, going to an A7, going to was it D minor or something? Yeah. So it's a bunch of fives of fives, and the fun thing is like just pick any note.
Any note.
To start on.
From all the 12 notes? Or from the diatonic notes?
Well, yeah, or, a chord tone. Yeah. But that's the important thing is, so I know the tonal center. Da, 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 da. Da, D, the E on saxophone. D, D, do, do, de, do, de. Da, da. So the flat nine tonic, da, da, da. So F now. And so I'll sing and actually touch either on the horn or just air saxophone. And then after, a couple of chords, I'll check to see if the pitch has drifted. Mm-hmm. And if I'm where I'm supposed to be in my mind, if I'm in fact in the real world or not.
But are you singing consciously toward the notes, or are you singing and knowing what it is?
Well, it's more like just watching and seeing where I end up. Da da da, dee 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 dee, dee do dee. Dee dee do da do dee da da do dee da do do da da do do da 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 dee 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 da 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 da. And I'll check. Okay, I got a little sharper.
Yeah.
And so that I'm always aware of where I am.
That's cool. That's a really cool exercise. But I think this could be pretty difficult for many people who are just starting out, I feel like, because I don't know if I can do that at all. But it goes into a subject that I wanted also to talk about, you improvising, also learning to play bebop lines. Oh, yeah. Because I know many people really want to understand that maybe you can find something more basic for people to start with. Okay, well, because singing will already be quite difficult, I think, for many of us, including myself.
Well, there's a lot of notes in bebop. But the thing is, but there's not, and there are, of course, key changes in songs. and then there's the problem of major or minor.
Right.
Okay, so we don't have to get into that too deeply, but there's of course what they call the bebop scale.
Oh my goodness.
You know, let's say on C major or on, you know, and then you learn the bebop scale on G7 or whatever. But in bebop playing, they're actually they're not actually concerned with all of the changes, because there's a scale that works on 2, 5, and 1. You know, and it's a chromatic kind of scale.
Yeah.
And I'll do it real slow, but it. And that works on all of the changes.
Oh.
You know, yeah.
We'll have to transcribe that so that we know exactly what you're doing.
Well, yeah, it's just using those chromatics. Like it's just a way of playing the scale where it always seems to work out.
Oh, that's interesting. And so, what do you think about transcribing? A lot of people having a hard time transcribing, which I can relate to. Do you transcribe? Do you advise to transcribe, or how do you do it?
Well, one really cool bit of advice I got some time ago was, you know, a person asked, what recordings do you really like? What are your favorite recordings?
Yeah.
And then the next question was, well, do you know all the tunes? Like, did you learn them? And it's like, well, no. and so I started to write down the melodies, how the player would play them.
Like on the recording, not not in the real book, but on the I get it.
Try to learn that, you know, and some things are easier and some things not as easy. But first of all, to learn the melody by heart, and then if you have a lot of time, try it in a different key.
Oh my goodness.
And
best exercise.
but go very slowly, you know, but sing it also in the other.
Or sing with a recording.
You know, sing and play, and then change the key, and then try to sing it to see if you really know the melody.
Yeah.
And connecting with this idea of you know, when you sing and then play air saxophone or just touch the keys, then you have a very strong feeling of the key you're in, and then and the intervals you're playing, you know, and connect your voice to the intervals.
Such a good advice, because I think with guitar players I often hear that we rely so much on licks, because of course we have different horse and our horse is super visual, differently visual from yours. And we just like struggle so much because as guitar players you can play a melody in the same octave in like 8 different fingerings, right? And so that's what's so confusing on the guitar, and then we struggle to connect chords at all. But I think one advice that we can take from that is to listen to our own playing, because I find many people don't
Play stuff, but
they don't know what they did a minute ago. And when I teach, I sometimes, and the guitar players improvising, I say repeat it. Even so the chords may change, and then they don't even know what they did. So I think this is a really good idea. you.